Right, welcome back guys. So in this video I'm going to branch off a topic that's been quite popular over the last few weeks. Well, I don't want to go over ground that's already been covered, but what I'm going to do is try and help people understand exactly what ORP means and what it means for our water and our fish. Right then guys, so before we get into it, a little bit of background first. So I'm not just putting this out willy-nilly. I do have a bit of background in this subject. When I was in my training days at Tech, when I was studying water treatment, water sterilisation, wastewater treatment, things like that, we did touch upon things such as ozone processes and ozone systems and ORPs and things like that. So I'm not just chucking this out willy-nilly. I do have a bit of background in it, albeit of a fundamental level. You know, we didn't go into too much depth on it and things like that. We just went into understanding how it worked and understanding the processes and things like that. Also, I've picked up information from other people, people that's been in this hobby, in this industry for well over 20 years, you know, that's been through all this, that understands it thoroughly. So they've helped me understanding tremendously. So my aim in this is to put out a video with information to help you guys understand exactly what you're doing when you're buying these units and things like that. What you need to be doing, what you need to be looking for, because there's a lot of these ozone units going out, which is fine, not a problem. But by doing that, you need to be understanding inadvertently what you're affecting by using one and what you're trying to achieve by doing it. So that's going to be the purpose of this video. I don't want to tread on anybody else's toes that's already put videos out there about ozone and things like that. That's not what I'm going into. I'm not going into ozone. This is purely understanding what ORP is, and what you need to be checking, and what it actually means for your water and your fish. So let's get into it. Right then guys, so I hope we're ready to go into it. I've had to take a seat. I have made a few notes just to make sure I don't miss anything off. I want to try and get as much information in as possible. So ORP, or Oxidation-Reduction-Potential, is a measure of a body of water's ability to oxidize pollutants and contaminants within that particular body of water. It's expressed in millivolts, and good ORP levels mean that the water has got good potential to hold good amounts of oxygen, because it oxidizes pollutants. So the less pollutants there are in your water, the water can sustain more oxygen because it's not being used up by organic matter and things like that. On the flip side, low ORP means that there's more pollutants present in your water. So that could mean you've got decaying fish food in your water, you could have decaying leaves, something like that, decaying fish poo, or any other contaminant really. The lower your ORP is basically an indication that water quality could be better. So you need to be doing something to reducing the organic load on your system to improve its overall efficiency. But I'll go into all the different levels and things like that later on. I just want to get a quick understanding of what ORP is. Like I've already said, it's the oxidation potential of your water to reduce contaminants. So what I'm going to do now is move on to the next section, and we'll talk about why it's particularly important to keep track of your ORP levels. So you might ask if ORP is really that important. Well, I personally think it is, because it can give you early warning signs that something's not right with your water. So it can tell you that your water quality might be falling, the cleanliness of the water isn't that great. So just by monitoring it and taking a reading every now and again can give you a picture of the quality of your water as a whole is actually like, because ORP is not just one factor in the overall quality of his water. Naturally, we have to take into account things like as ammonia and nitrite, pH, KH, etc., etc. So it's not the defining thing. It just gives you a wider spectrum of the quality of your water. So if you've got good ORP levels, then your water quality is going to be so much better because of the things I mentioned previously. Like you've got low oxidant, you've got low organics in your water, and oxygen can be plentiful. So good ORP levels are going to mean you've got better O2 absorption, microorganisms are going to thrive because, like I say, they're in an oxygen rich environment, they're going to outcompete bad bacteria and things like that. Your filtration is going to work that much more efficient because there's going to be less dissolved organics in your system, and like I say, that's in turn that produces more oxygen, so they're going to thrive better because they're in a much more oxygen rich environment. So by managing your ORP, you're going to create a much more stable environment, rich in O2, and your fish are just going to thrive that much more. So ORP is measured with an ORP meter or a redox meter. It works by underneath this cap. I don't want to tilt it too much because it's got a sponging bottom here, what's got a solution in it that stops your probe from drying out. That's really important. But underneath this cap there's two probes. There's a reference probe and a sensing electrode, and what that does is when you put it in your water, it reads the difference, the potential difference between the two probes, and once it's done that, it will give you a reading in millivolts on your screen, and that's your oxidation reduction potential of your water. Now it's really important with these probes, whichever probe you buy, there's various different probes available on Amazon, eBay, whatever, but it's really important to buy one that's accurate, and two, one that's got calibration capability. So on this particular one, the middle button, you calibrate it, and the way you calibrate it is by using calibration solution. So this particular solution is from Hannah. It's the 240 millivolt solution, so it reads 240 millivolts at 25 degrees. So what you'd do is you'd fill a small pot up with calibration solution, put your probe into it, wait for the reading to stabilize. If it's reading perfectly fine, then all well and good. You don't need to calibrate it. If it's off, all you do is, on this particular model, all you do is hold the middle button down, cal will start to flash, and then you just use the up and down arrows to adjust the reading, and then you just press the top button to set it to the correct millivolt reading for whatever solution you're reading. So like I said, different models you can buy, but that's how you measure your ORP. Right then guys, so I'll give you a quick demonstration on how this redox meter works. and go from there. Right, so the first thing to do, what's really important, is once you've took your cap off, rinse your probe. Now when you're rinsing your probe, rinse it, you're supposed to rinse it before and after use, but you're supposed to rinse it in deionised water. So we'll give that a rinse in there, just to get the solution off what's been in the cap. So that's that, that's off. Give it a quick shake, rattle and roll, and then all we do is we press the on button, wait for the screen to come on, and then just put it in the water and give it a swirl. And the fish will come and have a play. They think I'm feeding them. Go on, go away. Go away. So we'll get a swirl around in the water, and then we'll take our reading. Oh, well, you're going to see this. No, go away. Go away. We'll keep it in the... Go away. Keep it in the water, and we'll let it stabilise. Go away. So as you can see, I'm getting a reading. Go away. So as you can see, my ORP is about 264 millivolts. Go away. About 264 millivolts, around there. But we'll go into the different readings a bit later on. Well, that's what you want to be doing. Letting it stabilise once you've put it into the water. Go away, I'm not feeding you. Right, so I settled on 268. So I'll take that out now, give it a shake, and again you power it off just by pressing that button and give it a swirl round in the deionised water to clean off any contaminants. Give it a shake off, and then back into the storage cap with the storage solution in. And that's it. Job's a fish. Right, so several factors are going to influence your ORP levels. The two main ones being pH and temperature. So the lower your pH and the lower your temperature, the higher your ORP reading is going to be. On the other end of the scale, the higher your pH and the higher your temperature, the lower your ORP reading is going to be. So a lot of it has got to do with the water's ability to sustain oxygen. The lower your water temperature, the more oxygen your water can hold, and the higher your water temperature, the less amount of oxygen your water is going to be able to hold. Also, it's going to depend on the amount of organics and debris in your system, because the more organics and debris you've got in your system, they're going to consume quite a bit of oxygen as they're decomposing. So typically, in our case, you know, we're keeping koi. We want to keep them at an ideal pH of about 7 to 7.5 or something like that, and the least amount of organics and debris in the system as possible, because the lower amount of organics in the system, the lower amount of wastes in the system, the water is going to be able to support a lot more oxygen, which is going to be beneficial for the fish and the biofiltration. Right then, so now let's talk about different ORP levels and what they mean. So a bad ORP level, or one what would be possibly considered as poor. And so one that would be a reading that would be considered quite poor, depending on a number of other different factors, would be one that's significantly lower than around 150 millivolts. What that means is if you've got a reading that's lower than 150 millivolts, it means your water hasn't got the great capability of holding oxygen. It's going to mean that it's quite likely that your water's contaminated with quite a lot of dissolved organics, and that's got the potential to leave your fish vulnerable to pathogens, and it could lead to quite a stressful situation. What could be another reason for having a quite low ORP reading would be if you've got salt in your water. Salt can cause your ORP to fall, but also salt is going to, if you've got quite a lot of salt in your water as well, it's going to deplete your oxygen, your dissolved oxygen levels. Eden Koi Pond, you mentioned that one. So yeah, if you've got salt in your water, that's going to result in a depletion of how much oxygen your water can hold to, as well as if you've got a lot of dissolved organics. So if you've got a low ORP reading, possibly look at improving those. Right, so before we start thinking about going down the route of artificially altering us ORP levels by the use of ozone units or whatever, there are things you can do to naturally increase your ORP level. After all, that's what we're trying to achieve. So what you don't want to be doing is trying to replace adequate filtration for an artificial way of boosting your ORP level, pretty much is what I'm trying to say. So if you've already got, when I say poor water quality, I'm not talking about as water parameters and things like that. I'm basing this on purely as ORP. So there are things that you can do to try and boost your ORP before you start thinking about trying to do things artificially. So if you've already got a low ORP to begin with, then try these things first. So the things you can do is consider whether you need to provide additional mechanical and biological filtration. That's one of the best ways you can instantly boost your ORP level, because your mechanical filtration is going to work a lot more efficiently, removing waste a lot more quickly, and your biological load is going to be a hell of a lot better. So the more bio you can get in there, and the more efficient mechanical filtration you can get in your system, the better your system's going to be performing, and the better your ORP levels are going to be. Increase aeration, so add additional air stones, add bigger air pumps to your system that provide a lot more flow. So if you say, for example, if you're only running a 20 litre per minute pump, then consider putting, I don't know, a 40-50 litre per minute pump on. The more airflow you can get going into your water to maximise the oxygen concentration in your water, the better. That's also going to be a boost for the overall health of your water. Showers they're going to help as the water's mixing with the air as it's crashing through the shower. That's going to provide additional oxygen levels as the water's mixing with the air and it's crashing about. It's going to create a lot greater oxygen saturation in your system. Play with your flow rates on your pond. Try turn your pump speeds up, and get rid of any dead spots that might be in your water, because dead spots create areas in your pond where pollutants can sit. So if you've got pollutants sat in your water because of a dead spot, then it's going to decrease your overall water quality. So if you can increase your flow rate through your water system, get rid of those dead spots, then those pollutants are going to be moved around your system. They're going to work their way into your biological filtration, and your biological filtration's going to deal with those contaminants. So that's another way of increasing your ORP levels. Another thing you can try, which I'm not a massive fan of personally, some people love them, is aquatic plants. Aquatic plants are going to produce oxygen as they photosynthesize. So in the daytime they're going to give off oxygen. The only thing you have to be wary of with plants in your water is obviously at night time they stop photosynthesizing and they give off carbon dioxide, which lowers your oxygen level. So if you've got plants in your water at night time, your ORP levels are possibly going to drop, because it's going to be the CO2 levels are going to be zapping the oxygen out of the water. So that's just one thing to consider. So artificial methods of increasing ORP include things such as ozone units. Now, ozone is a powerful oxidant similar to PP and chlorine. In small doses alone, it won't have the capability to alter the oxidation potential of the water drastically, which is what we're trying to achieve if it's low to begin with. Now, it's important to remember that ORP is not a measure of ozone in your water, which I think is where some people get a little confused when ORP gets mentioned in the same sentence as ozone. ORP is not a measure of the amount of ozone in your water. To keep nasties at bay with a good ORP level, installing units such as this one is not the sole solution. It's got to be used in conjunction with an already efficient filtration system. That's just top and bottom of it. And you need to have the knowledge on how to get the most from your particular system, and that's really what I'm trying to do. Really, I'm trying to give people ideas on what they can do to raise the ORP level to get the most from the water quality, and to try and help people understand a little bit better just exactly what ORP means. Now, larger ozone units must be used in line with an ORP controller, because if you go sticking larger ozone units on your system, like units such as 1, 2, 5 gram units on your system, and you start letting them run away with themselves, then you're quickly going to find that things are going to shit's going to hit fan. So if you even start to think about dabbling with large ozone units, then do your research, be prepared to spend a lot of money, be prepared to have multiple different controllers on your system to control your ORP level, because if you don't, and without the necessary items that you need for proper, and I mean proper, ozone generators, then things aren't going to end well if it's not done properly. That's what I'm trying to say. If you're going to do ozone, and I'm talking about proper ozone, then it's got to be done properly. Now, when these units first started getting spoken about, I must admit it did spark my curiosity. So I've had this running in background probably a little over 2 weeks now, just to test it for my own curiosity on what the unit could actually do in a real life pond situation. I've been comparing findings with another person that's been running one, and it does work to an extent, but like I said earlier, it's not to be relied on solely. You need to have an already efficient filtration system in place that's already putting you above the 150 millivolt region, because at the end of the day, that's the whole point of ozone. An ozone system is to put an already efficient system on steroids. That's basically what it's for. It just takes your water quality and your fish's health and everything like that to the next level. So that's what sparked my curiosity with that. It's took my water up. It's not took it to the higher end of where I'd like the overall water quality, but it's got it in that region. But my water to start with was already, it was already pretty good. It was already sort of hovering between the 170 to 200 millivolt range to begin with. So in that respect, it has made a little bit of difference for me, and I'm on, like I say, it's being used in a proper pond situation. The fish are being fed for growth. Although they're not on growth food at the moment, they're only on Saki balance. So whether that would make a difference, if I was feeding a growth food or not, I'm not quite sure. Whether it would make a difference to, well, it would. If my pond was much more heavily stocked and my fish were a lot bigger and I was feeding a lot more, then the likelihood of, where are we? The likelihood of this particular unit doing the job in a situation like that, I wouldn't put all my pennies in one pot, if I'm honest with you. So that's my thoughts on that anyway. PP will oxidise contaminants in your water, hence why it goes crystal clear after it's been used. But again, use it only when necessary and safely. You've used PP before. You'll have noticed that when you use it, okay, for the first while, when you first put it in, your fish are a bit wary, they're flashing a lot because they're irritated. But you notice after a bit that once it's been in a while, they start to come alive, and that's because the oxidation potential of the water has increased that much that what it's actually done is increase the water quality. That might sound balmy, but that's actually what it's done, because you're reducing all the contaminants in the water, and yeah, it's pretty much give them a breath of fresh air, because you've nuked all them contaminants in your water, and then obviously when you neutralise it, it goes crystal clear, and it's because there's no contaminants left in there. It's all been oxidised. So, but again, like I say, use it only when necessary, and use it safely and monitor it. So a good ORP level, or an ideal ORP level, you're going to be looking at somewhere between the 250 to 400 millivolt range. If you can get it into the 300s plus, then even better. You're going to absolutely love it. Well, it wouldn't be one of my videos without that drum going off, would it? Anyway, if you can get it somewhere between the 250 to 400 millivolt range, perfect. It's going to mean that your water's got great potential to reduce pollutants in your water. It's going to mean that your water's got the capability of becoming oxygen rich, which is going to enable optimal core health. It's going to reduce stress, it's going to increase appetite, it's going to promote better growth, and it's going to reduce your risks from pathogenic attacks a heck of a lot. So other levels that I think we should talk about is levels between the 450, 475 all the way up to like your 550 millivolt ranges. Now those sort of ranges is where we start getting into presence of PP, chlorine in your system. So if you're getting those sort of levels, then it's indicative that there's chlorine, or you're using potassium permanganate or something like that. You don't want to be maintaining those levels. Obviously if you've got chlorine in your system, you want to get it out. It is an oxidizer like potassium permanganate, like ozone. Chlorine's an oxidizer, just the same as those. It's no good for your fish. High concentrations, it's gonna damage skin of your fish. It's gonna burn the gills. So yeah, chlorine, just get it out of your system. Like I said, things with like levels like that, if you're using potassium permanganate, you don't want to be keeping those levels in your pond for any longer than 4 hours. Those sort of levels are what you're using to kill your parasites. So that's where your ORP meter comes in. If you're using PP, you know, that's how you safely use PP. You use an ORP meter, you monitor it. Don't just go off the purple colour, because that doesn't tell you anything really. You're going to be monitoring it with your ORP meter, monitoring it accurately. That's why it's important to use a well calibrated, accurate ORP meter to monitor your PP levels in your pond. You don't want to be keeping it in those regions for any longer than 4 hours. If you are, you're going to start damaging your fish's gills and causing long-term issues. Right then, now we need to talk about dangerous ORP levels. Now this is where the conversation of sterilisation comes into the mix. So if you're pushing your ORP level into the region of 600 millivolts plus, then nothing is going to survive in that water for very long. Your bacteria is going to die in the region of 600 millivolts. You know, within half an hour, say, maybe a bit less, it's going to kill bacteria. If you start pushing ORP levels up to into the region of 650, 700 millivolts, within a few minutes everything's dead. So ORP meter, particularly important. Like I say, if you start guessing at your PP levels and things like that, you know, you get your dosages wrong, and without one you start pushing your PP up to those levels, then very, very quickly things are going to go south, and you're going to find that's sterilised territory. You know, that's where we're talking things cease to exist. So get an ORP meter, use it safely, do not exceed those levels unless you know you've got nothing in your pond whatsoever and you are wanting intentionally to sterilise your system. Otherwise, keep well away from those ORP levels. So to summarise, ORP is in everything when it comes to the whole picture. It doesn't determine the overall water quality of the pond. ORP just provides information on the water's ability to oxidise pollutants within that particular body of water. It doesn't take into other considerations what we have to think about, such as ammonia, as nitrite, as pH, as KH, you know, all things like that. So don't rely solely on your ORP reading as the overall deciding factor of your pond health, because it's not. But yeah, it's just another piece of the puzzle. But anyway, I hope you have found it a bit interesting. I hope you've learned a little bit of something. I hope it's gives you a little bit of something to think about, to try and add something else to your pond. You know, in the quest to improve the water quality as best we can for as fish to live in. Because after all, that's what we want, isn't it? We want fish to live as healthy as they can, and we want them to grow to the best of their ability. And yeah, I think that's about it. So I hope you've enjoyed it. What I'll do now is I'll take you outside to see my mutts and to show you just how much bloody flies show you just how much that just increasing my ORP has completely changed my fish. Yeah, I have said it to a few people over the past few weeks. Obviously you guys are aware what issues I've been through in the past, and just because of minor tweaks what I've made to my pond, my pond and my fish it's like a different pond, really is. So right, I'm going to take you off this stand. I'm going to get off this chair because my ass is killing me. I'm going to feed mutts before I go inside, and we'll have a look at them. Right, so what you'll notice straight away, guys, is a difference in water clarity. That's instantly recognisable with a higher ORP. Every single fish is active, no issues whatsoever. Flashing is non-existent. Yeah, I mean, like I said, they've never been happier. They really haven't. So that's that then, guys. I hope you found it somewhat useful. So that's going to be me, guys. Thank you very much for watching. I know it's been quite long and drawn out, so if you have managed to stick with me the entire time, thank you very much. Yeah, catch you later, guys.